Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another Friday Findings video at keepsakecrafts.net. Today's video is going to be a little bit different as I'm going to show you a collection of bead weaving jewelry that I've made recently and give you ideas for places where you can find patterns and ideas and inspiration. So here are some of the bead weaving pieces that I've made in maybe the past 5 or 6 weeks. And I have to tell you that bead weaving isn't really my main thing. I do other things, but every so often I just want to do some. And it got started because I accidentally bought these Super Duo beads, and I've done a Friday Findings video on those if you want to learn more about them. I bought these because they were the perfect color to accent these components to make this necklace for a challenge. And then when I got home, I realized they were 2-hole beads, and so I looked them up and decided to give them a try. And this pattern, I just love it. It's called the Super Snake pattern, and the Potomac Bead Company has a video explaining how to do it, and I will link to that. I will have links to whether available patterns or books or designers' websites for all of these pieces on my blog post, so you can find that link in the description box. So that's how I got started this most recent time, and I just thought that the Super Duos were fascinating, the way with the 2 holes and this shape, you could put them together in all these patterns. In fact, I made a Pinterest board for Super Duo patterns. And then when I started my Pinterest board, I started finding different patterns, and there's one website that I found a lot of nice inspiration at, and that's Linda's Crafty Inspirations. And she had this, she calls it the Regina bracelet, and it's a fairly simple pattern. It's pretty straightforward, and I changed it up by adding one of these flowers and a loop for the clasp. However, I would recommend if you decide to do this and make the little flower, instead of sewing it on the way I did, sew it on more like a button, like sew it on through that center pearl, because what happens when I close it and wear it, this thing just kind of flaps in the wind and it doesn't feel as secure as it could. It feels like that could pull off pretty easily. But if I had it sewn on like a button, then that loop of beads would fit under it and it would be more secure. So I'll have a link to this. There's a pattern on Etsy for how you can make this. And I'll also have a link to a video that shows how to make just the flower component. And then I also made this necklace, which I was really pleased with. I have had these daggers in my bead stash for a long time. I bought them because I loved the color and I loved the feel of them. And I found a pattern in Virginia Jensen's Stitching with 2-Hole Shaped Beads. There we go, that's the right way. And hers actually calls for 2-hole daggers, which I didn't even realize they made. And I just kind of modified mine to accommodate the single-hole daggers. But that's a great book with a lot of really nice patterns, and like I said, I'll have a link to that at my blog post as well. And this is one that I've shared this photo before from Sinful's Bead Creations on Etsy. She made what she calls the Wiggle Bracelet, and I really loved it and wanted to recreate my own, and I couldn't find a pattern for it. More on that in a moment. And so I did it from the photo, and I'm not really thrilled with the way it came out. It kind of cups and it doesn't wiggle as much as I wanted it to. I really love the way this looks though, this loop for the button. And then just recently I discovered the designer Deborah Birdie, and she actually does sell the patterns. In fact, she was kind enough to explain to me that one reason my bracelet didn't work was that because of the variation in sizes, the design simply is not going to work with Super Duos and Tila beads. What you need to get are the Checkmates 2-hole square beads to go with Super Duos. Or if you want to use the Tilas, then you need to use the Preciosa Twins beads instead of Super Duos. So Twins and Tilas, or Super Duos and Checkmates, but not Super Duos and Tilas. She was kind enough to explain that, and I will link to her patterns where you can buy that. I am going to purchase myself some Checkmates and take this apart and redo it, and I'll check in. If you follow my Instagram, you could probably see the progress there at some point. But I'm really looking forward to having my Wiggle bracelet wiggle a little bit better. And then there's this one that I made to wear around the holidays, and I really enjoyed wearing it around Christmas time. It is the Super Duo flower chain, and you'll find this also at Linda's website with a free pattern. And this is a little bit complex, just the way that you do it. It's not as straightforward as you might think. But I thought it was a rewarding pattern. I enjoyed putting it together. And then this one is very similar. This was also from Linda's website, the daisy chain bracelet. And I'm really happy with how this came out. I have a magnetic clasp and then a safety chain on here in case the clasp comes undone. There is a pattern available for making this, and I will link to that also. Now this bracelet has become one of my absolute favorites because it just goes with everything I wear these days. And it's based on the Berry Band bracelet, which is a free pattern by Deborah Birdie. I'll have a link to her site with that pattern and all of her other patterns. I just modified this a little bit. So if you see on the screen, here's a picture of the Berry Band bracelet. And you can see down the center are diamonds, groupings of 4 super duos. And then if you look back at this one, you can see all I did was just a single strip of the super duos. I just changed it a little. So don't be afraid to change things up a little bit. I just thought I liked the look of this better. I did kind of have a little trouble with the tension here. You could see that especially right there because for some reason I was thinking that these super duos would sit up right against each other. I think if they were checkmates they may have, but since these are a tiny bit smaller, about 1 millimeter smaller, they don't fit that way. And so once I stopped pulling the thread to try to make them snap right up against each other, then my tension came out better. Other places to find great pattern ideas are magazines. These 2 donut pendants are both the same pattern from Bead and Button magazine, the October 2016 issue. It's called the Super Duper Donut. And I made one, and I was so pleased with just the cleverness of the design that I had to make another and make it double-sided. And so I made one side red with the white pearls, and then one side the blues with the turquoisey green pearls, and one I made a kumihimo braid to hang it on, and the other just a chain. And I just love wearing these. So magazines are a great source of inspiration, and I actually got most of my magazines from my local library. So if you don't have the funds for a full subscription, you can just pick up a single issue or just reserve them at the library. Now this one isn't strictly bead weaving, but I had to share it. This is the Water Lily bracelet. Let's see if I can get it. I think I must have done something wrong with my tension because it's twisting and I don't think it's supposed to. So if you look at it from the side here, you can see here's the center of a water lily, and then the greens are the leaves, and then the center of another one, and the pattern goes on. And the idea of the pattern is that this flat part with the blue background is supposed to just sit flat against your wrist so you don't have the bumpy beads against your wrist. And this pattern is by Christina Larson. She's CSL Designs on YouTube, and she truly understands how kumihimo works. The most complicated part of this pattern is setting up all the beads. You have 8 strands of cord. Kumihimo isn't that hard to learn. I've done Friday Findings videos explaining how to do it and how to do it with beads, but I don't know. It must be something really mathematical that eludes my grasp. Even though I'm pretty good at math, figuring out how to get these so they all fall in the exact right places. But if you go to her YouTube channel, I'll have a link to this video, and if you very carefully follow her patterns for laying out your beads, you can make this bracelet too. Once you get all the beads strung on the cord, then it's just basic kumihimo with bead braiding. Now up on the screen is a photo from my Instagram feed. I made the Pinnacle lace bracelet, but actually the pattern is from the December 2015 issue of Bead and Button magazine. It's the Pinnacle lace necklace, which, as you can see, the top piece is what the pattern was. And then I just made it symmetrical and added the row on the other side so that it would be a bracelet and a bit wider. I have since discovered that the designer, Renee Kovnetsky, actually has a pattern out for the bracelet in this design. I don't know if it's a little different. It might be because when I wear this, These sides kind of flare up a little. It doesn't bother me too much. It might be worthwhile to seek out the bracelet pattern if you want to make it so that it will lie, I imagine that hers lies completely flat. So as you can see, I'm not really an expert in bead weaving. I just kind of got on a kick where I made all these projects. I've made more. I made some that I took apart that I wasn't happy with. A couple were gifts. And when one final one, actually it's kind of fitting, I ended the way I began. Here's another version of the Super Snake. So I made those pieces in copper that I showed you at the very start for the sides of a necklace. But I really, really loved the pattern. I just thought it was intriguing. And so I decided to make it a bracelet. But it was a little thin for me. I guess I like bolder designs. So what I did was I made it a triple wrap bracelet. So my bracelet size is about 7 inches. So every 7 inches I changed colors. Kind of keeping them all in copper and beige and turquoise. I changed color and then had myself a nice triple wrap bracelet. And I also did another video, the Diamond Duo Bracelet. Sadly, the one that I really liked of those two was lost, and then the other one I wasn't thrilled with and took apart. And don't be afraid to do that. If you're not happy with it, take your pieces apart and redo them. So, I've been busy, but this is not my main thing. It's okay to go off and explore something new and try it and experiment. And then come back to the other things that you do, maybe with new vision or ideas or variations. That's kind of what I've done. So if you like bead weaving, or if you just want to dabble in it a little like I do, there'll be a ton of links to videos, free tutorials, paid tutorials, ideas, and inspiration at my blog post. And you can find that by clicking on the little tag in the upper right or the link in the description box. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a peek at my Patreon page for how you can get great rewards and help support these tutorials. Happy creating. Bye-bye.